Jodi Foster, no, not the famous actress, was a young single mother seeking a fresh start. She and her 3-year-old daughter Hannah had moved into apartment 14 at Walnut Gardens in Chico, California, expecting peace, stability, and a new beginning. But what she found instead was a series of events that would pull her into one of California's most chilling, unsolved mysteries. And a haunting that may have crossed the divide between the living and the dead. This is their story. The year was 2000. Walnut Gardens, sometimes called Walnut Grove, was a modest 2-story apartment complex built in the late 1970s on Parmack Road, not far from downtown Chico. Apartment 14 sat on the first floor overlooking the parking lot. Jodi had left behind a difficult relationship in Montana, seeking a fresh start and a safe place to raise her daughter. Her sister lived nearby in Paradise, California, and Chico seemed like the perfect fit. Apartment 14 was one of the few vacant units available. When Jodi signed the lease, the manager allegedly remarked that previous tenants had moved out suddenly. She laughed it off, chalking it up to small-town gossip. For a while, everything seemed fine. But within weeks, the new life she hoped for began to twist into something she could neither explain nor escape. It started with little things, almost too small to notice. She'd wake up to the sound of running water and find the bathroom faucet turned on full blast. The refrigerator door would hang open in the morning, even though she'd latched the child-proof strap the night before. Every morning, Hannah's small pink sneakers appeared neatly side by side in the center of her bed. At first, Jodi assumed her daughter was playing, but Hannah insisted she hadn't touched them. Soon, household objects began to move. Salt and pepper shakers appeared at the very edge of the table. Cupboard doors slammed on their own. Then came the stove. The burners would click and ignite by themselves. The most disturbing incident involved Hannah's favorite toy, a red sing and snore Ernie doll. After the toy began speaking in the middle of the night, Jodi removed the batteries herself and placed them in a drawer. Yet later that evening, the doll said cheerfully, "I feel great. I feel great." Jodi would later recall, "I remember taking the batteries out with my own hands. When that doll spoke again, I dropped it and ran." Then came the invisible friend. Hannah began talking to someone she called Myliz. She would set out an extra plate at dinner and whisper, "Myliz wants to eat too." She described her new friend as a young woman with long brown hair who wore a white blouse. When Jodi asked where Myliz came from, Hannah answered simply, "She lived here before us, but someone hurt her." At first, Jodi dismissed it as the harmless imagination of a child. But the more detailed Hannah's conversations became, the less sure she was. She caught her daughter sitting cross-legged on the carpet, staring at empty air, nodding and smiling as though listening to someone speak. Sometimes Hannah would hum an unfamiliar tune, a slow melodic song, and say that Myliz had taught it to her. The mother started to feel watched. She began keeping the lights on at night. Electrical disturbances joined the list. The television flickered to static at 3 in the morning. Light bulbs burned out almost daily. The family's cat refused to go down the hallway and would hiss at the empty kitchen doorway. One night, Jodi walked past the bathroom mirror and saw a figure behind her reflection. a woman standing perfectly still. When she turned around, the bathroom was empty. When she looked back into the mirror, the shadow remained for a split second longer before vanishing. Guests began noticing cold spots, literal drops of 10 degrees, between the hallway and the kitchen. Some felt pressure on their chest or said they felt off balance. Jodi later said the air felt heavy, like walking underwater. The turning point came during a conversation with a neighbor. The woman mentioned, almost casually, that years ago a young lady named Marliz had disappeared near downtown Chico and was never found. Curious, Jodi looked up old records at the library, and there it was. A missing person poster for Marie Elizabeth Marliz Spannhake, a 20-year-old woman last seen on January 31st of 1976. The black and white photograph showed a smiling young woman with long brown hair, wearing a light-colored blouse. Jodi froze. It looked exactly like Hannah's drawings. That night, she showed the photo to her daughter. Hannah studied it for a moment, then smiled and said, "That's Myliz. That's my friend." Jodi said she felt every hair on her neck stand on end. Mary Elizabeth Spannhake had vanished after visiting a local flea market near 8th and Wall Streets in Chico. Her bicycle was found chained near her apartment. Her purse and keys were left behind. She had recently moved to Chico from San Francisco with her boyfriend and dreamed of becoming a photographer. Police combed the area, but no traces of her were ever found. Her disappearance became one of Chico's most enduring cold cases. Friends described her as cheerful and artistic, a free spirit who loved nature. Her family never stopped searching. Years later, an entirely different horror story emerged in nearby Red Bluff. Cameron and Janice Hooker were arrested for the abduction and prolonged captivity of Colleen Stan, the infamous girl in the box. After the Hookers were caught, Janice told a pastor that her husband had killed another young woman before Colleen, a woman who matched Marliz Spannhake's description. At the time of Marliz's disappearance, the Hookers lived less than an hour away from Chico. According to Janice's confession, the victim had been abducted, tortured, and killed, but her body was never recovered. Although no charges were ever filed in connection with Marliz's case, FBI investigators privately acknowledged the likelihood that she may have been Cameron Hooker's first known victim. If Janice's story was true, then Marliz's spirit may have been bound to the place where her suffering began, reaching out from beyond the veil to a child who would listen. Jodi's story drew national attention. Detectives from Butte County reportedly revisited the Spannhake case, examining DNA evidence and interviewing former neighbors. So far, no new forensic evidence has been made public, but the renewed attention offered fresh hope to Marliz's surviving family. Interestingly, the apartment manager admitted that Unit 14 had seen an unusually high turnover rate, tenants moving out after only a few months. Some later claimed to have heard whispers at night or knocking sounds from the inside of walls. Jodi said that once she and Hannah moved away, the activity stopped completely. Of course, not everyone believed the story. Skeptics argued that stress, suggestion, and coincidence can create powerful illusions. Psychologists pointed out that moving after trauma can heighten anxiety and cause ordinary events to feel sinister. But paranormal investigators who later visited Apartment 14 claimed they recorded disembodied voices saying, "Help me," and My Name is Marliz. Skeptics called it audiopareidolia, the mind hearing patterns and noise, yet even the investigators admitted their findings were inconclusive. Jodi herself has never tried to profit from the experience. In interviews, she has said only, "It happened and I wish it hadn't." Today, apartment 14 at Walnut Gardens still exists. It's been repainted, remodeled, and rented many times. Residents rarely speak about the haunting, though every few years local forums light up with new tenants describing strange feelings, a presence in the hallway, or lights flickering in the kitchen. Hannah, now an adult, remembers fragments of her childhood friend, but says she hasn't seen or felt Myliz in decades. Jodi moved out of state and avoids interviews, saying, "Some stories don't end, they just stop." Mary Elizabeth Spannhake is still officially missing. Her disappearance remains an open case with the Chico Police Department. Perhaps what Jodi and Hannah experienced was the mind's way of piecing together an unresolved tragedy, a psychic echo of pain too heavy to just simply fade away. Or perhaps, in apartment 14, the spirit of a lost young woman truly reached out, determined that her story be resolved. Whatever the truth, the haunting at Walnut Gardens stands at the crossroads of two worlds, a place where cold case crime and a mother's nightmare intertwined. If anyone has information about the disappearance of Mary Elizabeth Spannhake, contact the Chico Police Department, because this isn't just a ghost story. It's a mystery still searching for an answer.